Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Amplify podcast. My name is Will, and I'm here with Ollie. And today we're going to talk about Ollie's story. We're going to hear about how he went from being the owner of a business that offers sports programs for kids, so working on the ground, into the co-founder of a tech company. So yeah, stay tuned, and here we go. Hey, Ollie, how you doing?
Good.
Good. It's good to be back with you. Well, I say back. This is our first episode, but we did practice a little bit. So, tell us a little bit about you. You are the co-founder of Activity Messenger, helps, sports and leisure organizations do sort of registrations and stuff like that. But you have a whole journey that got you to where you are. So, where did you start and how'd you get here?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2012, a friend and I, we started a business for kids sports programs on the North Shore of Montreal. So we kind of got into teaching kids on how to, grow through sports. We started with 16 kids the first session. We brought it, at some point up to like almost 5,000 or 6,000 registrations per year. We were just the two of us. At the end, we had 80, 85 employees. We were in the North Shore of Montreal, but also Ottawa, Quebec City.
Wow.
So that was all over a span of 13 years. And yeah, so, at the back in the days, it was really weird. Like some of our first revenues were mailed in, a registration form that they had printed out, filled out, mailed in with a check. I remember opening them, my mail and be like, wow, we just made some revenue, right? That was kind of like some of the first things and how we started.
That sounds crazy. I mean, you just talked about 85 employees across how many locations, and you're talking about receiving checks by mail?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we didn't have a location, so people had to pay us. And then back then, the registration softwares were not ideal, so sometimes it was a bit harder. And we still had people come in and fill out, in paper during free trials, or give us a check here and there. So I saw kind of a lot of that evolution of now how optimized things can be, in today's world.
Yeah. So when did that start hitting you? Like, when did you start to realize, oh, I think I need to bring some of these processes online?
Pretty quickly, actually, because one of the things about about our business is we didn't have a location, right? So we subcontracted all these locations. So gymnasiums, partners with cities and community centers. So we didn't have we didn't have a place where people can drive by or see it or come and talk to us. So everything had to be online, conversations, and then during the class, obviously. But then I kind of quickly realized, oh wow, we need to optimize that. We need to find ways to market, take registration, and kind of simplify all those processes for people to sign up online.
Yeah, for sure. And and also just to have a centralized point of communication, right? I mean,
yeah, 100%.
And not only communication, but also to handle all of those payments and the invoices and that's a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. And back then it was even more. So, you have your registration platform, but then you needed another platform to do surveys, to sign waivers, to do your free trials, to even, do your email marketing, right? So as we kind of built the business, we were adding all these tools where at some point we were juggling many tools, which cost a lot of money. We brought our MailChimp kind of fees up to at least $250, $300 US a month just to send one newsletter a month, right?
Yeah, because these CRMs charge by amount of contacts, right?
Exactly. So as we were growing, those invoices were going, but it didn't have any context with my registration platform. So it made it really hard for me to kind of market really well. I was paying a lot of money. I didn't have the context of my client. Right. And I was using probably 5% of the features in MailChimp. Like if you send, not using all the features they were building. So it was just one of those moments where I was like, I need to pay for it because it's worth it. But it's I wish I had another tool that was embedded into the same registration tool. And that would help a lot, right? So,
yeah, exactly. Okay. So you said, I wish.
Yeah.
So that tells me there's some frustration happening here. There's a sort of undercurrent of, okay, hold on. This needs to be better. This is not working out.
Yeah. So one example that comes to mind is people register for programs, and then I would love to personalize that first message, right? So here's your program's coming up in 5 days. Here's where to meet us. Here's the time of your child. Here's maybe a guide, a parent guide, or a blog article, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't do that. I needed to go into Gmail or Outlook, whatever it is, and then copy paste, the 12 kids, put them in there, and then just do it manually for hours.
Yeah. Even for just something so simple as a reminder. Hey,
a
classes in this.
Exactly. So that became a really big frustration. And then, nowadays we have software that just automates all that. Like you can schedule that, 7 days before. It's just going to have these placeholders and just give you exactly what you want. So yeah, I saw the shift of like all that manual work. And then that's a lot of time you're spending right before programs start instead of like making sure your staff is ready, doing training, all that kind of stuff. Right. So you saw the tech go more and more in these service businesses and how it saved us a lot of time.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I remember in the business, I was just giving classes online. It was nothing very complicated, but I remember having to chain together all of these different pieces of software too. And it's not only the cost related to that, it's the time sink of learning all of these different pieces of software. They've all got their unique UI experience. Yeah. They've all got, their own flavor that you kind of have to master. They're all their own learning curve. And so I found myself kind of sinking all this time into learning how to, but not doing the two, right?
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean?
And it's learning an inefficient way because you have 5 tools.
Right.
And then one of the biggest problems, and maybe some listeners can relate to that, is then it's really hard to delegate. Because if I have a staff member that is, you're juggling all these tools, you learned them, your business really well, but then it's like, hey, go juggle these 5 tools. And it's like, oof, that becomes pretty hard, especially, and it depends too, but a lot of businesses in sports and leisure, you don't have like that much full-time staff, right? So that was another of our problems. Like most of our staff was part-time. So now you're adding that layer of complexity of like, part-time employees learning all these tools and then
train and retrain.
Yeah, exactly.
7 tools. And it's like I'm sure at the end of the day, most admins are just like, I'll just do it myself.
Exactly. And that's what ended up happening with me, right? Yeah. So I wasn't able to delegate a lot of those things. And then that kind of led me to how I got into tech, which is a big surprise still to me to this day. That was 5 years ago. Probably remember COVID. Well, COVID hit. We had the first wave kind of hit.
Let's not talk about that.
And the sports and leisure, was hit really hard.
Especially hard, of course.
And in Quebec, I think even harder than other provinces or other regions of the world. And when, we thought we were going to lose everything. And then, we were able to open up during the summer after that. And kind of when they announced that a second wave was coming in that fall, that's when I met Martin, who was starting to build a software to help sports and leisure, businesses automate different processes. And he was at the beginning of it. And I was one of the first clients, got on a demo with him, and I loved the product. I saw the vision. I was like, you're looking for a co-founder because my other business is about to close down and I don't even know if I'll be able to open it up, right? So that's how I got into tech.
Oh, that's interesting. So that moment of uncertainty got you into actually saying, hey, you need a co-founder.
Yeah, really.
And so, but I just want to backtrack a tiny little bit. So now you met Martin. Martin is the sort of, Activity Messenger is sort of his brainchild, if I understand correctly. So, but before that, I'm sure so when did the vision hit you of, I wish, because just this summer, I heard a camp owner say, I am at the point where I'm telling myself, I'm just going to code my own platform. Yeah. Because it's going to be more efficient for me to code than to try and patch some other thing that doesn't work and there's always a bug and this and that. So like, when did that happen for you? When did you tell yourself, oh, you know what? I wish I could program something and just bring it all together? And
it kind of happened during those years as I was adding software and I was like seeing the payment, let's say for MailChimp, and then even not being able to like target well with MailChimp because I didn't have the data of the people of the registration status, right? That was more important than me than like drip campaigns and all that kind of stuff. And it kept coming in my mind. I always told myself if I could just meet a dev and he could take, the brain or the experiences I had in person running this business, growing this business from 16 to 5,000 kids, from, two business owners to like, 70, 80 plus staff. If I could just have someone help me kind of build that software, I feel like I could save so much time and so much money.
Right.
And then so when I met him, then we had a few discussions, and he was also looking for somebody who had operation experience, so we can really develop a product that would make sense on the field, not just in theory, right?
Right. Perfect. So, and he had the previous experience also developing for registration software. And so he sort of had this idea of how things could be better. And then you come in. And so now you have a developer who has experience and you have the operator who has experience.
Exactly.
And then it's a match made in heaven. That's great.
really, really was. And the other thing that was interesting is then, when COVID did not end up being like the super long-term thing that maybe we thought, and I didn't know if I was going to lose my business, we kind of reopened up, which was a big challenge, but now I had a new tool, right? It's like I was kind of reopening up with like this one tool that was allowing me to do better communications, to simplify staff onboarding, to, you know, text parents when a change was made. Like that in 2020 was a big new thing for the service industry, to be able to text and saying, hey, we got to change the timer. So all these things were helping us save time, automate processes. And then, you know, we were able to grow the business. But also I was able to kind of, you know, build Activity Messenger and still kind of be the owner of my other business. But then having that vision of like, I had the tech side, but I also had the operational side at the same time, right?
Exactly.
It's not just in my past, it was actually happening both at the same time.
Yeah, so saving time in with the platform, running your business with the platform actually allowed you to hustle harder, because now here you are doing, you know, running two businesses.
Exactly. Which was a challenge, you know, in itself. And, you know, I was lucky to have two great partners, one in both businesses. So that made it possible. But I think both saw the value of me being on two sides, right? On the operational side, because then we were able to optimize on for both businesses.
And so just to be clear, that's not what we're advocating here. No, hustling harder. No. Saving time to hustle harder. No, but we're advocating actually something different. Like, so maybe that brings us into, you know, so in your journey, you go from, you know, you're owning this sports business for kids, you're helping kids move and all that. And then, you know, you grow, you find Activity Messenger, you become co-founder of that. And now here we are, fast forward 5 more years, and you're co-hosting this podcast, the Amplify podcast. And what's sort of the vision and the mission for this podcast? What do we want to offer here?
Yeah, and I think the name there's a reason. The word Amplify for us is just that, like, everybody that we're helping at Activity Messenger, you know, we have, you know, currently over 500 clients across North America. Everybody in there is a client has a great mission, right? They're either wanting to keep kids active, wanting to connect communities, maybe wanting to like have elite athletes go to the Olympics or, you know, Canada Games or things like that. So just that ability to amplify the mission that these sports, leisures, non-for-profits have, so then they can have even more impact in the community, because, you know, we have a tool now that helps them get more registrations, manage them better communications, and then save a lot of time doing that, right? So that's kind of the mission behind the product Activity Messenger. But this podcast is, how can we share tips, strategies, and ways that we can help you amplify your reach throughout your mission.
Whether you as an admin use Activity Messenger or don't, you know, that's not really the main point of this. The main point of this is really to, how can we open a discussion to, you know, free up administrators to really focus on, you know, not only how they serve the people who they serve, but also, you know, how to innovate and how to also free them up so that they have more free time and they can spend time with their families.
Exactly.
And because like the quality of life is so important in everything that we do. And we're definitely not pushers of hustle culture, you know. I think it's really important to have that balance in every step of the way. And if I can just add also on the mission, you know, the sports and leisure mission is so important, especially nowadays. Today we hear so much stuff about, you know, maybe less so in Canada, but still, you know, obesity is running rampant. Loneliness is running rampant. The new generation, they say that Gen Z is the most lonely generation ever. And I think that has a lot to do with people being cloistered, you know, on social media, on their screens and everything. And so we're like helping these businesses to get people together in person, to move their bodies, to exercise. And the other thing that comes and touches is another thing we hear about every single day, which is like ADHD, hyperactivity, these kinds of things. So I just wanted to sort of bring that point in, that this mission is not banal. It's actually very, very important.
And the other thing I want to touch upon is, like, when I started, you know, teaching kids sports and all that, like, I love tech. I ended up loving tech, right? How do I optimize? I was always thinking about how to optimize my business, right? And but the thing is, like, I've met other owners who are like, look, I taught dance for years. I just want to open up my dance studio and not have to think about the tech, right? So a lot of times I see some inefficiencies because they're like, I don't want to learn another tool, right?
Yeah.
Or this tool is too complicated, or this and that, right? So through this podcast, we hope to give kind of tips and tricks that people might not have thought of, because they just don't have the same interest. They love to teach gymnastics and they don't care as much about the tech, but like, it's important, right? If you want to grow, if you want more people, if you want more time to do what you love, well, if you have the right tech that can automate and create workflows for you, well, then you'll have more time, right? And I think there's there's a lot of people in the sports and leisure industry that just, are not that interested in the tech. And we're going to try and bring that interest back and just make it, because we're going to optimize your business.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at some point you need to learn a tool. There has to be a tool that you need to learn, but we hope to show some strategies and some ways that are the simplest possible in order to get those workflows automated. And when you get those workflows automated, it's not only the payment workflows, the registration workflows, it's also the communication workflows, right? So it's like reducing that time you spend answering the same old questions every other week.
Exactly.
Reducing the time you spend writing that reminder email. You do it once, you program it, and then it's good to go. Everything works with your registration calendar, and it's like, wow, cool. All of a sudden it's like, oh, what do I do now? Let me go teach a class or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. So cool. So that's about it. Is there something you want to add before we sign out?
No, I think I'm excited about this. This has been in our mind for a little while. I'm excited to share this with you as well. Like just your background, what you're seeing with customers as well. In the day to day. You're working also with people in that industry. So I think we'll have some great ideas to kind of propel all these businesses a bit further. But yeah, really excited to get this started.
Yeah, and because maybe I didn't mention that in this episode here, but I actually work at Activity Messenger. I'm supporting clients how to learn the software, so I know what I'm talking about. So that's going to give an interesting perspective too. We have two kind of different angles, and this is really offered by the team here, and we want it to be a blessing for everyone. We want it to really serve the sports and leisure industry. So. We look forward to continuing this with you, and thanks for being with us on the journey, whether this is your first episode or whether you're going back in time and watching us here. It's great to have you on board, and I hope you love what you hear here. So take care, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye, Ollie.
Thanks, Will.
Bye.